for my screen to match Zoom. There we go. All right. Happy Friday, everyone. I'm super excited to be here with all of you. This is week 2. My name is Becky Schnekser. I'm an educator, explorer, lower school scientist, and specialist at Cape Henry Collegiate in Virginia Beach, Virginia, in the United States. Today, I have brought 2 of my friends, Judith and Jessica, to talk to you all. I'm going to let them introduce themselves and then just start talking about simple ideas that they use in their classroom or their educational setting that you can use tomorrow. Well, probably not tomorrow, right? Today's Friday. So, something you can use first thing on Monday morning when you greet your amazing learners in whatever setting you are in. So, Judith, why don't you introduce and tell us a little bit about you?
Hi, I'm Judith Painter. I'm a world geography 8th grade teacher in Salem, Virginia. We are now an online community school and trying to keep all my students engaged and excited about what they are getting ready to learn. We're moving into the Middle East, so we'll see how this goes.
Awesome. And Jessica, how about you?
Hi, I am Jessica Purvis. Recently, used to be Dorcas, and I am teaching at an international school in Hong Kong. So up until this year, I taught at a charter school in North Carolina and recently made the move over here. So I teach high school science, I teach environmental science and physical science. And we have been doing online school since about mid-January. So a really, really long time.
Yeah, you're officially going to be our seasoned pro. You've been at this for a while. I know. And I have a feeling though, whether you've been in remote learning, whether you're starting right after, I know a lot of people are on spring break right now and they're going to start remote learning for the first time coming back from spring break. But then we also have you, Jessica, who's been at this for a little bit of time. I know I've been at this for about 4 weeks. And then Judith, I don't remember how long have you guys been in remote learning?
We've done 2 weeks and then we had a week that we were kind of trying things out.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. Nice diverse locations. We have diversity in the amount of remote learning experience we have, and of course in our own experiences already. So you know what? Judith, why don't we start with you? What wisdom, what can you share with us today that we can turn around and use on Monday if we would like to?
Sounds great, Becky. So my students were in the midst of going out with the National Geographic grant to hike, and they were so excited because we were supposed to be starting our new hikes this month and going canoeing and fishing and so many other things. And so I'm trying to figure out a way to tap into that, yet still keep them in a social distancing at their house and what they could do at home. And so this week I have actually created a project on iNaturalist where I snagged data from all these different people on iNaturalist to cover the North Africa and Southwest Asia region. And then my students are going to fill out a graphic organizer that I snagged from Ditch That Textbook. And they're going to pick 7 species that they think would be really neat or to see in person, and then tell 2 reasons why by filling out the graphic organizer using all this data from all these other explorers around the world. So I figured that should keep them engaged and interested.
Yeah, I love that. I call that glocal, right? We're working globally, but we're focusing on our local. And especially now when we're in this remote setting, it's a little bit different. But I love that you're sticking with that idea and you're just adapting. You're just trying to find a way. How am I going to make this work when we're not in the same space together? And so I feel like my wheels are turning now. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is geography just gone wild, so to speak. You know, you've got geography in each person's separate living space. You've got the
Yes.
global geography that you're incorporating. And then I love iNaturalist. You know what, Judith, can you tell us a little bit more about iNaturalist for some of our friends that
Sure.
might not have heard of that before?
So iNaturalist is a online platform. You can use your computer, you can use your device, and you go on and all these different people who have made their own accounts have put on information that they have collected in their area of different species, so plants, animals, fish, birds, mosses, you name it, it's on there. And you can search it by region, you can search it by person explorer, you can build a project that pulls from different regions. And that's what I did for my students. You can upload your own. So like several of us, including Becky, have started collecting what we see in our own backyard and on our walks around our neighborhoods and so on, with our stay at home collection, that, you know, there is nature all around us and to be observing it. iNaturalist also has a program that's really good for younger learners that maybe you don't want them on a platform where they're dealing with explorers and other people. And it's called Seek. And it's a fantastic app. You take a photo of whatever it is you're looking at, and Seek will immediately start scrolling through and going, oh, well, this could be a blah, blah, blah. And then the students can actually research and look at it more. And my students loved using Seek and iNaturalist.
Oh, that's cool. I've never heard of Seek. That's
Oh,
awesome.
you need to look into it, Jessica.
Would that be appropriate for high schoolers, do you think?
I used it for my 8th graders just to have an
Cool.
easier way to go about it. Very appropriate.
Awesome.
So, and then they
Yeah.
don't have to create an account or put it on iNaturalist, which tends to be more curated.
Right.
So they can just quickly look, and it actually will save on whatever device they've got. It will save all their findings so that they can pull it up again.
Oh, cool.
So,
That's really cool. Yeah, now my wheels are turning.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's literally what I was going to ask next. I was like, oh, dang,
Well,
Jessica,
actually-
have you used it? And
Yeah,
how might you use that?
Yeah, next year I'm teaching a zoology class for the first time. And so I'm thinking, especially, you know,
Yep.
being up here, and so many of our students are spread out, you know, all over Hong Kong. And so we could get some really cool stuff, I think. You know, start building a class database and trying to, you know, organize things. And I think that'd be really, really cool.
Yeah, I love that. And the other cool thing, and Judith, you might have said this and I might have totally missed it, but Seek is also great for, it doesn't track it doesn't do the geo tracking that iNaturalist
Right.
does. So iNaturalist will tell you exactly, oh, Judith found this, she took this picture at these coordinates on this day at this time. And Seek will help you identify species of whatever living thing that you found, but it doesn't say, oh, Jessica took this picture this day at this place at this time. So it's really, really great and geared for people that want some of that geo privacy. So really, really cool. That's awesome. I could see you.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Organizing like a
put it
bio.
on. If you do put it on iNaturalist, you can actually set the privacy settings so that it can't be tagged right to where that person would have been if you want those things on there. You can still see where it is, but they can't. If there's somebody else, like if I pulled it up and didn't have your account, I could look, but I couldn't see exactly where it was.
Gotcha.
So, which is really neat. But iNaturalist, if anybody's interested, if you go to iNaturalist and go to educator resources, they have tons of stuff. And there's some really good stuff for science there, Jessica, that you should go back and look at.
Yeah, totally. I've been using iNaturalist. I haven't been on it really since my expedition. And I have really just been slacking in that area. So that's great.
There you go. See, we're all learning. We're all getting new ideas. I love it. I love it. Well, Jessica, why don't we switch gears and let's hear from you. What awesome idea do you have to share?
Okay, I'm switching gears a lot. I'm gonna talk more like social, emotional type of deal. But basically what I have, so I'm in Hong Kong, so I've been doing this since January, even though every week I feel like I start over and I feel like I'm doing it for the first time again. So I feel like I've just had a lot of times to mess up and do it over again. So what I have faced in a couple of classes is that, just for background, we meet every day, like exactly when we would meet for class. And so we're meeting sometimes for 20 minutes as a check-in, sometimes for the full 88-minute period to work on things. So what I was noticing is I was having, some students, perhaps they have a better home environment or whatever that may be, who's turning everything in on time and asking questions. And then some students who may be taking care of a sibling or may not have great internet access, or I even have students who are in mainland China right now and are working from a VPN. They can't access Google very easily. And so we've really had a big mix of how students are able to engage, and then the response I've gotten from them to online school in general. So what I set up was a system of accountability partners. Since we meet over Zoom, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll do an intro in a main classroom like this, and then I will give them time to work on mute, so that way if they have questions they can unmute themselves and ask it immediately. And a lot of times I'll even just turn off my video and go and do dishes or something, but it's just a time for us to kind of be together. And that way, if they need something immediately, they can. And then also that gives me a chance to say, you can log out once you've turned it in, things like that. Just a little bit more, personal responsibility there. But what I've actually started doing is during those times is splitting them up into breakout rooms. And so I have paired them with a student that, first of all, they know, and second of all, that may be in a similar situation that they are. And it has helped them, first of all, just kind of feel a sense of camaraderie again, because there's so much, I always rely so much on group work and things like that. But it kind of just, the way that I sold it to them was say, like, we got to hold each other up. We got to, if you're having trouble with something, this person isn't going to leave you behind. And so even if everybody else has moved on, you two are in it together. And it's actually worked incredibly well. It has made, pacing a little bit difficult because I have maybe a couple of pairs of students that are a couple of days behind, but at least they're together, and so the accountability partners has really, really helped them, I guess, feel less isolated. They aren't, they're not doing every assignment together, but if one of them misses something, I can go to that breakout room, check in at the beginning of the period and say, hey, blank missed this assignment. Why don't you guys go back to that together? Why don't you guys talk about that? Make sure you understand it, get it submitted, and then you guys can move on together. And I haven't had anyone say, oh, I want to go ahead and move on without them. They've really come to a sense of understanding and teamwork in that. And it's worked really, really well. So I feel like that could work. I'm not sure about for like a lower school age student, but definitely middle school and high school. And it's helped them, I don't know, it's almost like they're sitting together at a table and they're working together on it. So sometimes when I go into the breakout rooms, they're not doing any communication whatsoever, which I think is fine. Maybe they don't need that, but sometimes they're really working through problems together. And if someone's having a lot of trouble with something, the other student can say, hey, this is how I approach this assignment. Maybe you could use this website or whatever that is. And it's been a really, really positive change.
I love that. I love the use of the breakout rooms. That's something that I knew, because we're using Zoom as well when we do our synchronous time together. And that was something that I've used with adults. Like we use Zoom all the time to do video conferencing or different meetings and breaking off into groups. So I knew that was something I wanted to use. And I love how you're using it for that social emotional component, because that's so incredibly important. The academics, and I'll say this every single time that I talk to anyone about remote learning, the academics don't matter if the students don't feel like they are a part of the team, they don't feel that they're loved, and they don't feel safe, and they don't feel like they're valued. It's just like the first day of school. You don't hop in the first 5 minutes of class and the first day of school and say, all right, here we go, math lesson number 1. You're like, no, you build those relationships. So I love that you're not only providing time for those relationships, but it's a continuous thing, and you're using the breakout rooms. So, and like you said, they might not be talking. It might just be someone's in this room with me. They're not sitting next to me like they would in my classroom, but I have that camaraderie. Or if I need someone to talk to or I need assistance, here I am. And I love that. That's what I like to do. I do a mixture with breakout rooms and random teams, or sometimes I assign the team for whatever reason it might be. But I love that. I love the ability to break them up just like you would in the classroom, because
Definitely.
there's like rarely a time when I keep them all together. I'm like, okay, this is what we're doing today. Like, no, we jump right into something or some sort of communication piece. I don't keep them all together in one room.
Exactly. I know. I found that really awkward to keep them all in the same room and
Yeah.
just like watch them.
Yeah.
Also, I know just from staff meetings, it's really awkward to unmute yourself and ask a question while, the teacher's talking or while you're working. And so I think that the breakout rooms make it a little bit less intimidating. So if they do have a question, what's great about breakout rooms, if you are unaware, is that there's an ask for help question or button. So if they're all broken up into their groups, they can ask for help, and then you have a queue to come into their room. But otherwise, I just pop in and out of the rooms. Sometimes I'll even just turn, my microphone off and just sit and listen and just, hear how things are going. But again, I think that it just kind of breaks a little bit of the awkwardness. It makes it a lot more personal and less, a bunch of bubbles on a screen that you have to, get around.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hey, Judith, when you guys are
Yes.
doing synchronous time or just time when you're live together, what platform are you guys using?
We're using Zoom, but it's
Okay.
not required to,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. So we are in a situation where they've set it up and said, okay, first period will meet, they've got a schedule over 2 days that hits all 7 periods and a club or period or sports if anybody wanted to meet for any of that. And so my problem is like last week, I had a couple of Zoom sessions and they were optional at 9 a.m. in the morning. And most of the kids were still asleep.
Mhm.
That's what I'm finding with middle schoolers. And so I'm kind of trying to figure out, okay, how can I pull this off? Because I love this idea. And my wheels, like you said, Jessica, are churning, going, how can I pull this off? And it may just be for me that maybe they don't have a specific partner, but it's whoever shows at that time, partner them up. And that I think would work.
Mhm.
Because I really like that idea to let them sit and chat and figure out kind of, I'm struggling with this. What did you do here? That type of thing.
Mhm. Totally. Yeah. And I actually haven't,
Asking.
at least if they are, they're very sneaky, but I haven't had any cases of like, even just sharing documents or sharing screens or anything like that. It's honestly been maybe the most true collaboration work I've seen, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, we had the same issue. I feel like every week up until the last 3 weeks or so, we've had a different approach to online school. So the first week we had just office hours from 9 to 11. And so that's just when you were like glued to your computer. And so if you wanted to have a Zoom meeting, you would send out an email and say, hey, let's meet at 4 p.m. today. And it was just very optional, very nonchalant. And then when we started having these regular mandatory ones, the 8 a.m., I mean, we'd have like 4 students. And so only once we actually started counting attendance and things like that, we started to get a bit more regular. But we played around with the idea of, pushing the school day back a couple hours. And I mean, I know it's hard for me to get up at 8 a.m. For some reason, it's harder to get up and walk 3 steps into my living room. So I do kind of sympathize with that. But I think that the schedule is definitely beneficial. So hopefully they will come around.
That's kind of my hope. So we'll see. That's an awesome idea. Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, ladies, thank you. Is there anything else that you want to put out there to our friends on the internet as we are? Any words of advice, any cheers to send all of our friends off with?
Definitely breathe. There's Carrie keeps saying it's okay to be okay. And that's where we just need to remember that it's okay to be okay.
Yeah. So. And like Becky has said, at this point, the academics are a bonus. And so if we can do baseline and that's all we can do for a day or for a week or for a month, we got to have some grace and be gentle with ourselves. So.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And just like in the classroom, just be flexible. I feel like there are so many things now that we're at home, there's just different distractions, right? You have the pet that comes in, you have the sibling that comes in, you have another, I don't know, just something will happen and you just have to embrace it. And, or we have stuffed animals or a toy and you just embrace it. I see there's a lot of temptation to like throw in these rules, like you may not have this, make sure your sibling does not come in, make sure your pets are locked away. And I'm like, but no, just go with it. You know what? Pets wander in. Let's take 5 seconds. Hey guys, who has a pet? Let's segue. Let's get some of that social emotional. Let's get that communication in there and just we're at home. Things are going to happen slightly different than being in your school, but we don't necessarily put those dictatorship type rules in our school. If someone wanders into your classroom, you go with it. If there's a spider crawling on the wall, you roll with it. So it's the same thing at home. Slightly different distractions, but go with it. You got to embrace them. Well, ladies, Judith, Jessica, thank you so much for being here. I am super excited for people to hear your amazing ideas because they're great, and I know I'm taking them and I'm running with them, and I may or may not give you credit for stealing your ideas. So thank you so much. On a serious note, thank you for being here. It was awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Guys.